everyone. Not hi. Okay. I think I'm live now. Okay. Thank you for coming today and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Dana and behind the camera is my part-time cameraman, part-time dog wrangler, Robbie. And today is all about mushrooms and Marsala wine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over here. I don't know if you need to turn that. And we're going to start by making a mushroom risotto, and then I'll talk a little bit more about Marsala wine. So the first thing we've got to do for our risotto, and you know what, I should probably say that this is just one of those really yummy, comforting dishes. And hang on, I'm going to go over here. You got it? Okay. One of those really yummy dishes, and risotto is just, I mean, I love risotto. Put a bunch of stuff in risotto and it's delicious. And I'm using a mushroom stock that I made from scratch. I did that earlier today. It makes a ton of mushroom stock. It'll really beef up that mushroom flavor. And let's see. So when I did the mushroom stock today, I used a gallon of water, so that's 16 cups of water. I used 2 ounces of dried mushrooms. Now, I always like to keep dried mushrooms on hand because you can rehydrate them and use them in almost any dish that you want to use. They also are just packed full of flavor. So I use dried shiitake mushrooms and I use dried oyster mushrooms. And then I also used button mushrooms. No, I didn't. I used baby bella mushrooms. I did not use button mushrooms. I used baby bella mushrooms that I also chopped up and put in there, along with some thyme and some salt and some celery and some carrots chopped up, and I let that go for an hour and a half, which is why I made the stock before here. So now I've got this stock and it's warming on here and staying warm. Ow, don't touch. It's been one of those days. I've already broken multiple eggs on the floor, and I don't know. It's one of those days. So keep your stock warm when you're making risotto, because you don't want to be putting cold stock into your risotto. So even if you go and you buy mushroom stock instead of making your own, or chicken stock, if you don't want quite so much of a mushroom flavor, always warm it up and put warm stock into your risotto. So I am going to first slice these up. I've got 3 different kinds of mushrooms I'm going to put in here. So these are baby bella mushrooms, which basically are tiny baby portobello mushrooms. So this is before it grows up and it becomes a portobello mushroom. I'm also using yellow oyster mushrooms. They look a little funny, but they've got a nice, mild, but a little bit sweeter flavor to them. Not sweet, but you know, kind of like some vegetables are sweeter than others. And then I'm also using shiitake mushrooms. What would be really nice to use in this would be porcini mushrooms, since that's Italian and chicken marsala is really a Italian type dish. But I couldn't find any, so we're stuck with this. And so shiitake mushrooms have kind of more of a woodsy, smoky, earthy kind of flavor to them. So those are the 3 kinds of mushrooms that I'm going to be using in the risotto today. So I have all of the stuff nicely portioned out and ready. It's kind of like I didn't chop it all. That would be mise en place, but if I have to go around looking for it, you've seen me cook, Kelsey. I run around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to find stuff. So I try to be a little bit more organized for everybody so I don't look like that. So this is going to call for, and we're not going to start by using this, but it calls for about 3 cups of mushrooms that are going to go in there. And I'm just slicing them, and I'm just going to use that part of the oyster mushroom because that one's, and not that part. Stick that over there. I can throw that in my stock later. And then we're going to take these baby bella ones, and we're going to just slice them. I think I might take the stems off of them too. Now, I use, when I'm making stuff with mushrooms, a lot of times, like I want these to be pretty, so I'll take the stems off. But like if I'm making a filling for like a appetizer or something, these still have great flavor in them. And so I'll chop them up and I'll mix it into the filling just to give it more mushroomy flavor, if that's a word. It is now. It's a word because I say it is. All right. So hot and ready. Never saw oyster mushrooms before. They're kind of weird looking because we don't. A lot of chefs will use them, but most home cooks don't use them too often. But it's kind of interesting because we think of mushrooms. Mushrooms have different flavors. Like if you're doing portobello mushrooms, are just nice and meaty, so you can use them like as a burger. You can fill them up. There's a recipe by Michael Simon. They use this risotto recipe or something very similar to this one, and puts it in a portobello mushroom cap. Is one of the meals, and I think Robbie really liked that meal.
I did.
Because he likes mushrooms. I don't like raw mushrooms all that much. I like them cooked. But Robbie is definitely the bigger mushroom person of the two of us. So, miso what? Kelsey, mise en place. It's a French term, and it means everything in its place. So especially if you're having people over, it's always good to have like everything cut and chopped ahead of time. So sometimes I get stuff ready ahead of time and get it chopped up before I get on. So I got that, and now we're gonna do these shiitake mushrooms that have a slightly different texture than the Bella mushrooms. So the other kind of mushrooms you'll see a lot in cookbooks are, you'll see cremini, or you will see button mushrooms. So button mushrooms, white mushrooms, that's like the mildest and the easiest mushroom to find in the stores. They're the same thing. And when you see cremini, that's the brown version of it. So nowadays you're seeing more Bella mushrooms in the store, but if you see cremini, it's just the brown version of the white one, and it has a slightly more intense flavor, but both of them are pretty mild in their flavor. So, hello, Crafty Gamer. Good to see you. We're making chicken marsala over mushroom risotto tonight, and we're making a dessert later that uses marsala wine called Zabaglione, or you may hear it called Zabaglione. And it is also a really nice Italian dessert. All right, so I've got that all done, and look, I'm using my knife again because I don't have my scraper. Do as I say, not as I do. Use the scraper when you're getting stuff off your cutting board so you don't dull your knives. Also, it's nice, like if something says, make it into a 4x2, you've got like a little, what do they call those? Rulers, yeah. Okay, so I've got my mushrooms ready for it. The first thing I'm gonna do on this is we are going to put a little olive oil in here. Oh, I've already got this olive oil over here. It's about a tablespoon of olive oil. And I'll put this recipe up on, I finally got some social media sites going. So I've got Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So I will put the recipe for this up on the Instagram, and that should make it available on the other platforms as well. And I don't have my little trash bowl out here either. See, Kelsey, I'm not as prepared as you think I am. So, thank you, Corley. Is that Corley? Yeah, I love these aprons. It's a company that started out small by a cook, who wanted to make really nice aprons called Headley and Bennett. And they wash really well, so they're really awesome. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this shallot, because never use an onion when a shallot will do, and shallots are, you know, you still get that onion flavor. It's a little more mild than your onion flavors. And half of an onion sits in the refrigerator and it goes bad, never use it. And if, you know, maybe you're not like me, maybe you are good at using all the onions, but I'm not. So, all 3 cups for the risotto, yes. I know, I'm telling you, it is a mushroom palooza today here in the kitchen, because the chicken marsala is gonna have mushrooms in it as well. And I'm pretty sure, let me see here. Yep, 3 cups of mushrooms. All right, so I've got my olive oil going, and you know what I didn't do? I didn't turn on the burner.
Is that important?
That's kind of important. It's gonna be one of those days. All right, so I'm gonna turn that on a little over medium towards high, and let that heat up for a second while I do this. And then this also calls for 2 cloves of garlic, which is also one of my favorite ingredients. It smells so good when it's cooking, and it's good for you. How about that? I used to use those, you know, you can go get minced garlic in the grocery store, and I used to use that all the time for convenience, and it's a great way if you don't want to mince garlic and have garlic fingers. But I really like the fresh garlic better. I think it has a different smell to it, because the stuff, once you start chopping garlic, there's an enzyme in it that breaks down really fast. So if you ever have that pre-minced garlic, smell that garlic and then smell some fresh garlic that you've just done, and you'll be able to smell the difference between them. We got, so Kelsey, yes, Nightbot commands, I think that is on Robbie's list.
It's on the to-do list.
It's on the to-do list. Yeah, that's the next step. So, Kelsey, you love onions. I love onions too. But a shallot is a type of onion. It's just a very small one. So, you'll still get the onion flavor. Okay. Make this minced. That's a pretty big mince. We'll chop it up a little more. How's everybody doing today? Are you hungry? I'm pretty sure Robbie's hungry. He tries to be nice and say, oh, I'm not all that hungry.
I think I'm just permanently hungry.
You're permanently
unless
hungry?
I'm eating.
So it's just gradations of hungry. Like sometimes I'm like a little hungry and sometimes I'm really hungry, but there's never like I'm not hungry. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Hey there, Wild Omelet. I'm sorry, my eyesight is really bad and my glasses are scratched up because I'm terrible at taking care of my glasses. Welcome to the stream. So glad to see you here. I'm Dana, and behind the camera is Robbie. So far he hasn't had to wrangle any dogs yet. Okay, so we're gonna take these shallots and get them in the oil. I don't want them to brown, okay? I just want to start getting them cooked a little bit, and I'm gonna throw the garlic in there. All right? Then I'm gonna do this. And you know what I forgot to get? I forgot to get some thyme out of the garden. Do you know what the thyme is?
Is that the one on the right side?
No.
Left
That would be
side?
oregano.
Left side?
Here, do you want to stir this for me? And I will go cut some thyme. And then Robbie will talk to you. Maybe. Or he may just
Maybe.
stand here silently and stir while I go get some
Can you
fresh
talk
thyme.
and stir at the same time? How do you do that?
He's my sous
Hi,
chef
everyone.
sometime.
You might see me more on Sunday, because the rumor is I'll be helping cook and not just stirring.
How does she see that?
think she needs to make the font bigger.
Alright, see,
I don't
that's
know how
what-
you can see that either.
I know, it's hard to see. Is it cooking chicken marsala and mushroom risotto? Yes, that is what we are doing. So Kelsey, you want to already be eating when you come here? Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do over here is I am going to put the mushrooms in there. And here's what happens with mushrooms. When you put them in, they have a lot of water in them. So if you leave them in there long enough, they start to sweat. And that's when it releases kind of the water. So that's kind of what we're looking for here. Get them a little brown and waiting for them to start releasing their water. That's what makes them all tender and yummy and everything. And I think I need to add a little more olive oil in there. All right, so we still haven't even gotten to the rice yet. We're just getting all the yummy stuff that's going in the rice, in the risotto. You guys know about risotto? You know that's a different kind of rice that you buy at the store. Sometimes they label it risotto, but actually risotto is the dish and not the rice. The rice is actually called arborio rice. And it's a short grained rice, so it's smaller than that rice you usually, most people buy, like a jasmine or basmati type rice. It's a little bit smaller, so that helps it get creamier. And I tell you the science behind it, but I don't really know. So, yes, Robbie Cameo. Chelsea says she's going to put it on a laptop somehow so the chat is bigger. But where will I put the laptop while I cook? It'll get dirty. I need like a big gigantic screen, like a big screen TV over here with, you know, the kind of text that the kids always laugh at that their parents have on their phones. All right. Next, we're going to put this in here. Because I want you to take a look at this. Do you see how the mushrooms have gotten a little bit brown, but they're also kind of wet because they've started to release their water? So here we go. I'll put that in there. I'm going to stir that, and I'm going to let that get a little bit brown also in the pan. Okay. Always good. And I'm also going to chop up some thyme and get that in there as well. Most of the time if I'm making something that's a stock, and this is not that, I'll just put the whole thyme thing in there because the leaves will fall off and then I'll just pull out the stems. But I need to chop this up a little bit smaller, so I'm going to take the leaves off. It's just kind of a pain to do. All right. If you don't have fresh thyme, you can use dry thyme. Just keep in mind that you want to use less if you're using dried herbs because they have a stronger flavor since they've been dehydrated. The flavor's more concentrated. All right. Get that stirred up. Don't want that to stick. And now we're going to start adding our stock to this. Okay, and we want to add the stock into this slowly. We do not want to pour it all in. So here's the mushroom stock that I made earlier today. And for those of you who are just joining it made a gallon. And what I did with all the extra stock, because I only need about 3 cups for this, is I put it in the freezer to freeze in quarter cup portions. That way I can just take out basically mushroom stock popsicles or ice cubes and however much I need. And something that is water, but it's always better if you use stock. It's instant flavor. So most of the risottos I make, I use chicken stock. And I think some of my stock, as I was heating it, I don't know if I have enough. Okay, so you can see it's not incorporated yet. So we're gonna just keep stirring it in this pan until all of that water is absorbed, and then we'll add some more into it. Got it? All right, let's see. So wild omelet, you've always been scared to try mushrooms? You know, I had, when my kids were little, I was always like, well, actually, I still do it to them now. Kelsey can attest to this. It's always try it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to continue eating it if you don't like it. Just try something. You know, and so I've tried some kind of weird things over the years because of that. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit more of this in here. And you just keep doing this. Some people like their risotto with a little bite to it so that the rice is a little chewy. And some people like it really soft and more creamier. And that just depends really honestly on how much liquid you put in the pan. So you might, when you see my recipe go up, if you're trying to make it, just know that you can go up or down on the liquid depending on how you like to eat your rice. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I don't like too much bite in it, but I also want a little bit on it. All right. And the thing about risotto too is you want to keep stirring it. You don't want to leave it. Robbie knows when we've made risotto, I'm like, here's a spoon, sit here and stir. It's his favorite thing to do because when I don't need him to stir, I have to turn around and go, stop stirring. Stop stirring. All right, let's see here. Oh, shark wrestling? Yeah, you didn't like shark wrestling? That's too bad. I thought that was a good activity for a 10-year-old. All righty here. Let's see here. What else is going on? You guys got any big plans for the Memorial Day weekend? I'm going to be streaming on Sunday, you know, and it's going to be lasagna. And Robbie is he'll be featured in that because I told him that was one thing I would just like him to get really good at to help with. So he's really good at making pasta. As long as the other person in the kitchen gets the ingredients correct when they're putting the dough together.
Who knew that measurements were important?
It was kind of important. He's like, this dough is really sticky. And later I realized when I was measuring something, I used the wrong size measuring cup. So it even happens to me. It even happens to me. I'm hoping it's nice out this weekend too, but are we getting rain?
Maybe.
Maybe. We finally had sun today, which was nice. In Texas, it's been rainy and dreary, and I know if you're in Seattle, you're familiar with that, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. No, Choir says no concrete plans, but probably grilling. You know, I thought about doing a steak, but I'm hoping maybe I get to see my daughter son-in-law at some point and we can cook a steak together, but I'll probably cook one before then. So Choir, what will you be grilling? So, lasagna is one of your favorites. You like it cold out of the fridge. It is good cold out of the fridge, man. Yeah, I like that too. Ours will have homemade pasta, and then I haven't decided which recipe we're gonna make. We have a couple. I have one that's got a lot of mushrooms in it. It's a healthier version, but I don't think we'll be making the healthier version one. All right. Still working on getting all that liquid. Let's see here. It stormed in Seattle. Did you have lightning and thunder? That's weird. in Seattle. So lasagna is one of those things that, like, as a leftover, like, the flavors meld a little bit more. You know, like some things, like when you have it the next day are better. Oh, there go the dogs. Lasagna is one of them. Chili is one of them. That's always better on the second day. A lot of soups, all of that. Ooh, Carquar's doing ribs and bratwurst. You're new. My family's from Germany, and so we made some German food. I love bratwurst. I used to have those all the time. My mom used to grill those all the time. So spaghetti. You prefer spaghetti? That's good. Each his own. There's so many different pastas out there. I just like layers and layers of cheese because it's really bad for me. Kelsey, yeah, chili is better the next day. All right. I hope I can convince some of you to try mushrooms if you haven't had them before. Because, you know what? I was not a big mushroom person. I'm gonna put. Also, don't leave your metal utensils in a thing that is got a flame underneath it. All right, almost done, and then I'm gonna set this aside while we make the rest of the stuff, but we just have a little bit more liquid that needs to get incorporated into the risotto. This one's gonna have a little bit more bite. And again, make your own stocks. I tell you, I buy chicken stock because I cook with it a lot, but I love homemade mushroom stock, beef stock, pork stock, and chicken stock because you know exactly what's gone into it. So it's really fresh and yummy when you're cooking. Ah, old German and Polish sausage, yummy. Yeah, love that. All right. So this is almost done, and then we can start on the chicken marsala. So while I'm stirring this, I'll talk a little bit about Marsala. All right. Marsala wine was kind of started coming to the rest of the world in the late 1700s when a trader went there. I can't remember what his name was. An English trader went there and discovered it in outside of at Marsala port, which I believe is in Sicily. And now when you get it, and so then people started buying wineries up in Italy and doing the different kinds of grapes that you need to make Marsala. Marsala is sweeter. You'll find it in 3 sweetness levels. You'll see secco, semi-secco, and sweet. And so when you're doing desserts, you're going to want to have sweet Marsala. But when you're doing savory dishes like chicken Marsala, you definitely want to try to get secco, no more than semi-secco, because it gets really, really sweet as you reduce down the sauce that goes to it. If you get the sweet, it gets like a little too syrupy. Okay. Now I'm going to taste this real quick, make sure. I have both bottles here because we'll be making the dessert with the sweet Marsala and we'll be making the chicken Marsala with the secco. And you can see where it says fine on there, or fine if you're American. I think this needs a little more liquid. And all my mushroom stock is frozen. All right. I set it aside. I think it'll be okay. All that means, I'll get back to what I was talking about. All that means is that it was aged for a year in the barrel when it says fine on it. And then there are other words for longer barrel sitting in. Aging. Thank you. Words. It's okay, I don't need them. It's not like I do that for a living or anything. All right, so how many of you guys like chicken Marsala? Do you like it? Rob's raising his hand. So it gets less sweet over time? No, actually, so that's a great question. No, because look, both of these, this is the sweet, it is also fine, and then this one is also fine and it's secco. So it really has to do with the grapes that they use to make it. It doesn't have to do with how long it's being aged in the barrel. I'm just saying that this is going to be the least expensive one you can get because it's only been aged for a year in the barrel before it was put in the bottle. So, good question. I'm sorry if I was confusing there on that. All right. Also, it has a pretty high alcohol content for a wine because it's 17 to 20%. So, be careful. I actually like Marsala wine. I like to have a little glass when I'm eating chicken Marsala. Okay. So, first, I want to make the mushrooms ready. For the dish, I'm going to do all the mise en place ahead of time. Oh, you know what I didn't put in there? I didn't put the Parmesan in there. So let's do that real quick. If you don't have the thing I can't find, oh, Robbie saw it. Okay, thank you. This is really a kitchen essential because then you can do all sorts of grating and zesting. So I'm going to stick that in there. And get some nice fresh grated Parmesan in my risotto. See, this is why I try to be organized because otherwise I run around and do this all the time. All right. Well, it's pretty good. It's not as creamy as I'd like it, but it'll still be good. All right. So now we've got that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start on the chicken. I got the next thing ready. I like to use cast iron for this. So this is very heavy. It also takes a little time to heat up as opposed to other pans heat up a little bit faster. So we'll get that started. Heating up, and I'm going to chop the mushrooms while that is happening. And again, I'm going to use a little bit of a bunch of stuff. Did that make sense? That didn't make any sense at all.
I heard more mushrooms.
More mushrooms? All right. All right. All right. So again, I'm going to take the stems off just to chop them. I'll use these stems to make something else later that needs a mushroomy flavor later this week. Not sure what yet. Maybe some stuffed mushrooms. Something stuffed with mushrooms. All right, so we're kind of like in the land of Italy today and on Sunday. What I know that Fallen Age said that she likes spaghetti. What other kinds of Italian food are your favorites? I like a good lasagna. When I was a kid, I used to eat cannelloni all the time. And that was my favorite. It was a kind of a noodle stuffed with veal, ground veal and cheese. It had a sauce and had a red sauce and then bechamel on the top. Now I'm hungry for cannelloni.
One meal
There
at a
I
time.
had it. I just did it. That's fine. So eggplant parm, yeah, that's good. Eggplant parm. Fallen Age says you just made lasagna and spaghetti. Make a lot of Korean food. I want to do that. I haven't done a ton of Korean food. I've done a few dishes over the years. I think when the kids were growing up, I was less adventurous. I stuck with the things that I knew, more so than trying new kinds of things. One of the kiddos, not Kelsey, was a little more picky. So, can we dip the food here? If only, we were talking last time about how can we have smell-o-vision and taste-o-vision? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? If we can figure out a way to do dibs. I mean, the shrimp and grits, that was good the other day.
It was really good.
That was really good. Have any of you ever had Zabaglione or Sabaglione as a dessert? Because we're going to make that real quick. That's a quick thing. It takes less than 10 minutes to make, and it's really good. You're afraid people will troll other people. You know what? You have a very, very good point with that. Yeah, very good point. All right. Well, since Fallen Age brought up other international cuisines, what are kind of your favorite international cuisines? What are your go-tos? Like, you're at a restaurant, you're cook at home. What are some of the kind of things? I love to try new stuff, and I will sit here and mess it up right in front of you, and you can watch me attempt to make it. So I love ideas. I think, was the lasagna an idea from last week?
I think so.
I think it was. I know every time Cody's just like steak.
It's on the list.
It is on the list of things to do. If you're just coming in, I'm Dana. Robbie is back there taking care of one of the puppies while also trying to be my cameraman. And we're making chicken marsala and over mushroom risotto. And we're making Sabaglione or Zabaglione for dessert. So I also need some of this, but I think I'll just put that in. Okay, yeah, steak is fantastic. Korean foods. Oh, not cannoli. So Ashley, cannolis, I love cannolis, but which is different than cannelloni, which I did not know when I was younger, but now I know.
Sure sounds the same.
There's the velociraptor. He's very noisy. He's very, very noisy. Okay, so this pan is pretty hot now. I have already taken care of the chicken. So what I did is I had 2 chicken breasts. I sliced them in half, and then I pounded them down. A couple of them don't look very pretty, so feel free to judge me on that. It's okay. I'm gonna put some oil here in the pan, probably about a tablespoon or more. I've got some flour for dredging. Is it a little too hot? It's a little too hot. And I'm actually gonna put a little paprika in there. And I don't measure very often, but I'll try to give you guys measurements on the recipes. And then I'm also gonna put some salt in here. And I'm gonna hope I don't burn it when I stick it in the pan. Sometimes you'll see recipes that have you making the Marsala sauce separate from the, in a different pan or a different pot. I actually like to do it in the same one because I like to get like the fond, like the stuff from the chicken that's on the bottom of the pan in the sauce, because that's really yummy. All right. So here are my, see how sad that looks? It's very sad looking. It fell apart. So we're gonna put that in this mixture of flour, dredge it. I'm gonna get the excess off. I'm gonna stick it in the pan. Oh, and this one's like coming apart. Oh, there we go. I don't know why they fell apart. I have never had them look like this, but this is what we got. When you're doing this kind of thing and just browning your foods, you want to make sure not to overcrowd the pan. If you do that, it'll steam rather than get brown. So, being in Wisconsin, German, Polish, Scandinavian, yeah, Vietnamese, lotion, and you say that Hong food? I'm not sure how to say that. And I would say Asian foods are probably some of the ones I could practice more in eating them. But thank you for the ideas. I will keep those things in mind. All right. So I need to go get another plate. To put my cooked chicken in. Okay, so Mom. So I almost had it right. I just used the wrong consonant. Consonant, that's the word. So, where's everybody from? Are you guys mostly from the Seattle area, or are you all over? I'm in Texas, so if you're wondering where I am, I'm in Texas. So Spokane, Washington, you're in the middle of the ocean? New Jersey, awesome. Middle of the ocean, are you on a cruise? Are you on a raft? Do you need to be rescued? We need to send somebody after you. A secret base on the moon. Oahu, Oahu, okay. That is kind of in the middle of the ocean. For sure, central Wisconsin. But actually Missouri. I mean, Missouri can be probably, I'm actually from, I don't know where in Missouri you're from. I'm actually from St. Louis. So, and you can see how it's getting this nice golden color on it, right? So like that, and then a little oil in the pan. Gateway to the west. Yes, it is. You still haven't been up in the arch yet. We didn't make it there, did we? But we did. I did drive you to a Cardinals game.
Yes.
Yeah. Where he was very sad because he's a Rangers fan.
We don't talk about 2011.
I have to say that was probably one of my favorite World Series ever.
It was really good up
For
until
many reasons.
a certain point in Game 6.
I know. I had friends here in Texas, and they were saying, "I'll bet you a dinner that the Rangers win." And I said, "No, Cardinals are gonna be fine." And they thought I was delusional, and yet we won. So there you go. 11-11. Yeah. Let's see here. All right, I gotta get these in the pan. I'm getting a little better at looking at chat and cooking, and then remembering to talk to you and not to this iPad over here that doesn't care if I look at it or not. All right, get that one. And see, that one looks right. That's what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like this, and not like those sad excuses for chicken cutlets from before. But you know what? The good news is they still taste really good. So as long as I'm not, trying to do an Instagram photo with them, it's all good. All right. And then I've got this little bitty piece here. It's gonna cook really fast. Now I'm gonna go wash my hands really good. Put this over in the sink, so I don't contaminate the rest of the kitchen. Is everybody singing along with me? We can all sing something. I mean, I like the Phenomena song. I don't know about you.
Phenomena?
Do, 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 do.
Phenomena.
Do, 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 do.
Phenomena.
Do, 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 do,
Phenomena.
I know, we're a little weird. It's fine.
She started it, chat.
I did. All right, so while this is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and now chop, because funny enough, the Marsala sauce also needs shallots and garlic. So we're gonna do that. And I love shallots because I don't waste anything. All right. Remember last week when I went to the store for shallots and they were out of shallots at Central Market? That was crazy. Like, how are you out? It's like being out of bananas at the store. That's going to be in your head for days. You're welcome. You're very welcome. It just gets boring singing the ABC song while you wash your hands, right? All right. So bucket 5,000. You want dibs on the chicken? I mean, it'll be gone by the time you get here, since you're in Missouri. All right. I'm so glad you guys all came. Thanks for being here. So I am not about having the perfect looking food. Robbie doesn't believe me, I'm sure, but I'm not. I am more about, I like to cook and talk to people in the kitchen. To me, that's the more important part. One of the things that always was sad to me with my mom, you don't want that, is that if the food wasn't perfect, a lot of times she would just kind of disappear for a little while on us. But, you know, it's yummy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's all about talking to people and hearing their stories. I love that. I love that part of it. So with you guys being here, to me, that's such a treat because that's what I really enjoy. And I've really missed that over the last, like, year and a half. It's just been me and Robbie and the dogs. And we didn't even have Rocky for part of that, because we didn't get Rocky until October. Which, what were we thinking? I know you're like, I didn't have anything to do with it.
No one said that he was half raptor and half goat.
Huh?
No one said he was
Nobody
half raptor
told
and half
us,
goat?
that's right. So we always say that Rocky is half raptor and half goat because he always has to test to see if he can get into anything, if the doors are closed or anything like velociraptors. And he also eats just about anything. Metal, rocks. He'll bring rocks in from the backyard. I didn't name him Rocky, so we got him from a neighbor. But it's an appropriate name for him. So, yeah, eating is social. And, I like to make good food. But even if it doesn't turn out perfect, which is why I'm like, hey, I'll try some things you guys want me to try and you can watch me mess them up. To me, that's kind of fun. Okay, so now I want to put in about a tablespoon of butter, and this is super smoking hot. Chill out.
Fire extinguisher on standby.
Now we'll put a little butter in there. And we are going to first I'm going to put the shallots in there and let them get started. And all that thing, garlic really fast. So, I think I was saying earlier, mise en place, everything in its place. It means that you've chopped everything and prepped all of your food. And if you're having people over, it's the best way to do it because then you're not sitting there doing what I'm doing right now. It's all ready. But garlic I like to do is close, like I said, once you start chopping it, this enzyme starts disappearing. And so you kind of want to do that closer to time so you don't lose that, because that's kind of that sharpness of the garlic. All right, you guys know how to do this, right? You take your flat edge of your knife here, put it on top of your garlic, smash it, and then you can just peel the skin off. I'm gonna tell you, I like to watch a show called Worst Cooks. I don't know if any of you guys watch that. And if Ann Burrell saw my station right now, she would have a heart attack because she likes it to be clean. That's getting a little brown. So don't do this, which is it got a little brown. It'll still be okay. It's not burned yet. But really we're just trying to cook it down till it's kind of translucent. But I was talking and not paying attention. All right. Get this. Oh. This isn't very pretty. All right. That's a great show. Hot and Ready. Yeah, I love watching it. It's really good right now with Michael Simon. He's a good teacher and he has that ridiculously funny laugh that he's got. It's awesome. All right. Now I'm gonna do this. Oh, my shallots. They're way too brown. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna actually recut my shallots because these are just too far done. You don't want them to look like this. This is what happens when you don't do your mise en place. Okay. Let's put that in here. Can you get me? I think there's a shallot still over there. And now I've turned this down, so hopefully this won't be so smoking hot and they won't burn. I did turn it down, just apparently did not wait long enough. All right.
Take two.
Take two. There won't be as much shallots this time because this is smaller. On there. So, I missed your chats. Christian Sour Patch, what? Let's see here. You got a joke. And if I get it right, and he pats you on the back. So, there was a joke. You're bored, read your chats. It's hard. I'm doing my best in reading chats because I am trying to not burn things, which
worked.
Which I did not quite succeed at right there. So, all right. All right, so we're gonna redo those shallots. My pan is still, I think, got enough oil in it, and I'm gonna put the garlic and the shallots in there at the same time. We're gonna get those done. I'm also gonna put some thyme in there, so we'll just kind of shred some of these leaves in there. Oops. Did you hear that? That's the...
Are you making popcorn?
No, that's the thyme, and what that is because there's oil in the pan and there's water in the leaves, and so when they hit the oil,
it turns into popcorn.
It pops. Yeah. So there we go. All right. I'll get another spoon. Here we go. It's a little quiet in the chat, so I'm guessing Kelsey had to get working helping those people with Pink Gorilla. All right. So now that I've got this in here, we don't want to burn that again. I'm going to, I didn't open this. Do you think this is going to need an opener? Nope. Okay. I'm going to put about a cup of this in there.
I could still use one on it.
Let's not.
Fun fact, you don't have to use a corkscrew if it's a screw top, guys.
Yes. Robbie one night was saying, this cork is not, I don't know what's wrong with this bottle. It's not working. And I walked over and it was a screw top and he had put the corkscrew through, but he got it.
I still got it.
But, all right, so now I've got the wine in here. I'm going to let this kind of reduce down a little bit. Because that's what you want. You want to like intensify that Marsala flavor in there. So we're gonna let that simmer for a second and let that kind of reduce down, and then I'm gonna add the chicken stock into it as well, and then we'll reduce it down a little bit more. If you really like Marsala wine and you want a stronger Marsala flavor, you can put more Marsala in there and reduce it down more. If you want less of that flavor, because some people don't like a real strong Marsala flavor, put less of it in and put more chicken stock in instead. So, anyway. So, the Tex-Mex game, you cook and you run out of the wine for cooking. Those dogs. I don't think I've ever run out of wine for cooking, but I definitely drank wine while cooking. For sure. So, and yes, Carquois, we're going to be doing something called Zabaglione, or you can also call it also Sabayon is another name for it. We're going to be cooking that because we're going to be using the sweet Marsala wine to make that. And we're going to be putting that over berries. It's this like nice foamy yumminess. All right, I need to turn this up. You know what? I was supposed to put these mushrooms in here before the wine. So we're going to put them in now. So here's a tip. Mushrooms in first, like we did with the risotto, to get them nice and brown, and then put them in here. So I'm going to have to work on these a little bit to get them to cook down a little more. See, I make mistakes, and it's still going to be delicious. All right, so we're going to put some of the chicken stock in there. I'm going to put about a cup of chicken stock in. And I'm going to turn up this heat and get these mushrooms cooked. And then we're going to put the chicken back in there and let the chicken finish cooking. And I'll put a little cornstarch in here if it doesn't thicken up the way I want it to thicken up. So now we wait. And we wait. And we wait. It's a delivery night for you. Yeah. Yes, dogs will be dogs. I wish my two dogs got along more often. My other two, before we had Rocky, I had another Bichon like Otis. Here's Otis. Oh, come here, buddy. So this is Otis, and he's 14, and he had a sister, Fluffy, and they got along great. Not quite as good when he was a puppy and she was a little bit older, but yeah, they were great together. Otis, on the other hand, well, super cute. See, he's super cute, but he is a pain in the butt. Right? But you'll get better, right? You'll be less of a pain in the butt. You gotta promise me. You gotta promise me.
He makes no such promises.
He makes no promises whatsoever. So there they are. See, they're already fighting. So while I'm waiting for this to cook down, oh, Robbie's carrying a dog. I guess that's one way to do it. A Bichon mixed with a lab. That's an interesting combination. Rocky is a multi-poo. So, like I said, he's part multi-poo, part raptor, part goat. Otis is 100% certified Bichon. His whole name is actually Otis Cleveland. He is an AKC dog, even though he looks shaggy and like he grew up on the streets. So he's Otis Cleveland, and he got his middle name Cleveland because Kelsey, when she was little, back in the day when everybody went whatever, do you remember those days? She was probably about 7 or 8 years old, and my youngest kimono was 3 maybe, and she kept going whatever, and he finally said, Sissy, we don't say whatever, but we can say Cleveland, which we have no idea why he said that. So anyway, when we got Otis, which Kelsey helped us win from somebody in what do you call that? Why am I blanking on the name? When you pick teams, people make your team
Like fantasy
sports?
sports?
Like fantasy sports. It was football, and she challenged somebody who had the dog and said, if our team beats your team this weekend, we get the dog, and we won. So that's how we ended up with Otis. And when Collie's like, whatever, when we called her dad to say, hey, we have another dog. So that's how he ended up with the middle name Cleveland. So I think that should be a thing. Instead of saying whatever, I think we should all just go Cleveland. I don't have anything against Cleveland, but you know, Cleveland. And Fluffy, it's no surprise how she got her name, because she was just fluffy. And the kids named her. And now we have Rocky, who my neighbor named. I said your name, I did. Now he's looking at me. So, anyway, okay. So this is still reducing down a little bit, but I want to thicken it up. There's a lot of different ways you can thicken up a sauce. You can thicken it up by putting cream in it and butter. I am going to put some butter in it in a little bit, but I want to take it off the heat before I do that. And then, you know what? I can put the chicken in there and we can let the chicken cook in it. And then I can do the other stuff with the sauce. So you can use cornstarch, you can use flour, and like I said, I did this backwards. So normally you would put the mushrooms in there, cook the mushrooms, and then you can sprinkle cornstarch or flour on top of the mushrooms because it's letting go of all that water. And then you can start adding your wine and then your chicken stock. So there's that. Alrighty. So mushrooms and mushrooms and more mushrooms. Never go with that. More dishes for Robbie.
Yay!
He's so excited about the stream because it's more and more and more dishes for him. Alrighty. So I saw from you guys telling me like a lot of different kind of foods from Asia that were in there. What about other than Germany, because we kind of talked about that, are there any other like European foods that sound good to you? And the other question I had is, how many of you guys were on watching Cody and Kelsey last night on the stream? I had to put her on the big TV so I could see her because, you know, I'm a mom. And that's what we do. Hey, see, this is what happens. None of that's for you. None of it's for you. This is not puppy food. He's trying to call dibs, guys. He's trying to call dibs. He doesn't have enough points to do that. So. Oh, you were working and watching them late at night? Yeah, we stayed up past our bedtime here so that I could watch. That's maybe cooking a little more. I'm going to set this on here and let this cook for a little bit. Now, I use chicken breast. A lot of times I'll make this with chicken thighs. I actually really, really like chicken thighs. I like buying boneless, skinless chicken thighs and using that instead of chicken breast. It has so much more flavor to it, and it's so funny because when I was a kid, I was like, oh no, give me the white meat, but the dark meat is so much better. It has so much flavor. But I'm trying to show you kind of, this is traditional. But use chicken thighs, and they're usually cheaper than chicken breast anyway. So that was good. So, hi, I'm trying to read that. It's a native tam. Yeah. We're doing chicken marsala. We've got it going over a mushroom risotto that we already made is over here. And afterwards, I'm going to be making a zabaglione over berries. So, it is about mushrooms and it's about Marsala wine tonight. All right, so while that's cooking, I'm going to real quick chop up some parsley on the top of this. That's not a good piece of parsley. I'm decimating the parsley over here. And there we go. We'll just leave that there. And then I am sure this is probably done, but let me stick a thermometer in the chicken. It's pretty thin. When your chicken's this thin, it doesn't take that long to cook. Yeah, it's done. Okay, so I'm gonna take this chicken out again so that I can finish the sauce off. So I'm gonna start by turning this off and getting it to stop heating up. And I'm going to actually move it over onto the burner that's not hot. Here. Okay, you can see it's starting to look really yummy. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to put some butter in here to melt, and I don't want it to break in there. I don't want it to get like all oily and stuff, so I need it to be hot, but I don't want it to be heating up anymore. Actually, I think that's almost good enough. What do you think? Do you want it to be a little bit more saucy?
Maybe just a little
bit more? Okay. So I'm going to take a little bit of cornstarch. I'm actually going to make a slurry, what's called a slurry. So if you haven't heard that term before, it's taking the cornstarch or flour. You can do it with flour too. You put a little bit of water in there. And you get all the lumps out before you put it in your sauce. I probably should have done this first before I put the butter in there. And now we'll do this. I'll put it back over here where it's a little bit warmer. That butter should be the last thing you put in there. So again, I'm doing things backwards. Backwards day. Yeah. Rocky actually steals stuff. I see Tex-Mex Gamer. My dog's actually, Otis won't jump on the counter. He'll just take advantage of anything that falls on the floor. But Rocky has been known to steal things that are pretty far on the counter now because he can jump really, really high.
Especially if it's food.
Especially if it's food, if it's something he wants. I think that's pretty good. Pretty good right there. All right. It is, yeah, so I'm still trying to figure out, in the schedule, if you look on the schedule, Native Tam, it says in the schedule, because I changed the name to Chicken Marsala. But for some reason, whatever, I've got something somewhere that I can't quite figure out that is not changing so all of my recordings come with the name of the last thing that I did. So I haven't quite figured that part out. So I need to get Kelsey and Cody to help me with that. All right. Plates. Should I get a plate? I'm just gonna get one right now. All right, so there's my risotto. Not quite as creamy as I'd like it, but still pretty good. I'm just gonna use this. Right, so for those of you who joined, we made this risotto is mushroom. So it has, it was made with a mushroom stock that I made earlier today. That had oyster mushrooms, shiitake, baby bella mushrooms, carrot onions, thyme, salt, all that good stuff in it. And then we actually sliced up shiitake and baby bella mushrooms and oyster mushrooms and put them in the risotto. Now we're going to take our chicken marsala and we're going to put one of these nice looking ones on top here. And then we're going to put some of this yummy sauce on there. And, you know, like I said, I did a bunch of things backwards today. That's what happens when I don't have the recipe right in front of me. And voila, chicken marsala. And would you like to take a bite of that? Let me get you a fork. There you go. And then you can also cut me a bite too and hand me a piece of it. So that is chicken marsala. And now he's going to start eating that and give me a bite of that. We will now, I'll make a, using the sweet marsala wine, we'll make a dessert. So if you're making, one of the mistakes I see when you're making the, oh, it's good. That's good. If you are making chicken marsala, you want to make sure that you're not using the sweet marsala wine. It can get a little too sweet. So you want to use secco or semi-secco, which are a little bit drier. They're still sweet. They're just not as sweet. The sweet is really sweet, and when you reduce it down, it can get a little too syrupy for you. Okay, so as Robbie eats over there, I'm going to make a Zabaglione, or Sabaglione is another way you can say it. All right. Luckily, Rocky is outside with his atomic work. Okay, so this is going to be made on a double boiler. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this water boiling over here. Okay? Then I'm gonna get this. And earlier I had eggs ready for this, but then I spilled them everywhere. This is what it's gonna go over. It's over these berries. So the first thing I'm going to do is take 3 eggs, and I'm going to separate them, and I'm only going to use the yolks. Oops. All right, and I think I told you I have not perfected the art of doing one-handed egg breaks, but I have got down tossing them onto the floor and breaking them everywhere. I've got that down perfectly.
Well, that's good.
So, all right. I am not a trained chef. I am just a home cook who loves to try new things. To me, so there's a couple of things I really love about the kitchen, and I love about cooking. Number one is I like cooking with people and making it kind of a social event. I also just love experimenting and creating I used to drive my mom nuts because my mom was a recipe follower. And if she did change, she would tweak recipes. She would write it down. So it was in the recipe card. I'm just kind of like, what do I have on hand? Let me try that. So, and my mom would be like, how do you know that will work? And I'm like, I don't. Okay, very, very important here. Make sure that you get all of the yolks, all of the egg whites off of here. You don't want like little bits of egg whites when you're doing this. And then we've got a 1/4 cup of sugar that's gonna go in here. And now it's gonna get really loud for a minute. All right. Did I use the whisk for the risotto, or did I use a spoon? Is the whisk
You
used?
used it for something.
I did.
It's got something.
Can you?
Would you like me to
that?
wash?
I would like you to wash that for me, please. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna do this on high until it kind of takes on a creamy consistency. So it's really loud. For people too, and I've just really missed that in this last year. I've only had a couple of people over during that time. All right. All right. I'm still waiting for that to boil over there, because we're going to use a double boiler so that we don't scramble the eggs, because what we want is just like this kind of fluffy, foamy, yummy, sweet Marsala tasting kind of foam. So let's see here. Let me get rid of these. This is so old. I can't even tell. I've had it like 20 years. Okay. So I'm waiting for that. While I'm waiting for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a 1/4 cup of Marsala wine, the really sweet Marsala wine in here. And also a big pinch of salt while I wait for that double boiler to get going. So a big pinch of salt. I'm just going to keep stirring this, and then once the heat gets going, we'll put it over this. And start getting that nice foamy goodness. So this is just a nice, easy dessert to do, especially if you've had like a heavy meal, or you just have some Marsala wine you don't know what to do with. Because I think I bought the sweet wine to make Marsala, and I was like, I can't use that for that, but I can drink it. So, yes, the puppy always wants food, but not his. You put his food in a bowl or in a toy or whatever, and he's like, but I want Otis's. Okay, so now we're going to put this over here, and we're just going to constantly whisk it, and that'll keep it from getting scrambled. We don't want scrambled eggs. And you know what? I practiced this morning, and I had it for breakfast because eggs, fruit, wine. Is there a better breakfast than that? So, yes, the puppy always wants everybody else's food. We'll eat Otis's food. We'll eat, but Otis will only eat Rocky's food. And it's like, he's a puppy, he needs puppy food, and Otis is an old man, and he needs old man food. All right, come on. I think it went a little faster this morning because my water was already boiling when I started this. But you can start to see the foam that's being created, and then it's going to start thickening up here real soon. It kind of has a weird color to it, but it's so good. So my story is the first time I had Zabaglione for what was it? One of you was from St. Louis. When I was in high school and graduating, my parents said, where would you like to go to dinner? You can go anywhere you want for dinner. And I chose Tony's, which was a 5-star restaurant in town and very expensive to go to. And I had a steak with a gorgonzola sauce, which was the first time I had gorgonzola that I remember. And then I had for dessert, I mean, it was like 4 courses. It's like Italian dinner, like 4 or 5 courses. But for dessert, I had the Zabaglione. You see how that's starting to thicken up a little bit? So if your water's boiling, this happens really fast. It takes like 3 minutes on here. This is taking a little longer because it's just not as hot. And now you can really see how it's getting foamy here. And it's almost done. Woohoo! Woohoo! Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, this is actually Alton Brown's recipe, so I'll put a link to this. He uses 6 eggs, but there's only 2 of us here, so I really only wanted to use the 2 eggs. Woo! Remember when I said don't touch metal things that have been on the stove like that? I should probably listen to myself more. Did you just watch this? And now I'm stealing it? All right. And then we pour that on top of the berries. Like that. Mm-mm-mm. And I know it's good because I had it for breakfast. I mean, seriously, it's eggs, right, over fruit. I mean, with a little wine. Could it be any worse for you than Fruit Loops? I mean, Fruit Loops are good. I'm just saying. All right, now you try that.
This looks a lot better than Fruit Loops.
It looks better than Fruit Loops. It tastes better than Fruit Loops, although there's nothing wrong with Fruit Loops. That's my favorite cereal. That's so good. What do you think? Is this your first time having Zabaglione?
I have never had this before.
What do you think? He's thinking.
I like it. I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of. I got nothing.
You got nothing? Watch out. He's trying to eat it off of your fork. Anyway, so that's it. It's a really simple dessert. And, you know, you can practice because it's pretty cheap. It's just a little eggs, a little wine, you know, and some sugar and a pinch of salt. So it's only got those 4 ingredients in it. Anyway, so do you guys have any questions or last minute thoughts or anything for me tonight? I mean, I so appreciate you guys all coming. I've almost had all of those, my 7 things that I need so that I can go to the next level on Twitch.
One more week.
One more week. And it's, you know, it's so great to have you guys here. Thank you so much for chatting with me. You can go on, you can see on the Twitch page, I've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I'm putting the videos up on YouTube so that they don't disappear forever. I'm also going to be posting the recipes or links to the recipes if there's somebody else's on the social medias. So thanks again, and I really appreciate you guys. Have a good night.